Kamloops Blazers star Fraser Minten has made the Toronto Maple Leafs after a very impressive preseason. The second rounder from 2022 was not initially on the radar to crack the roster. He posted 1 goal, 2 assists, 8 hits, won 55% of his faceoffs in 5 preseason games. In his final exhibition game against Detroit, he played over 20 minutes, centering the third line between Matthew Nyes and Cali Yarncroke.
It means everything. It's been a dream of mine for like as long as I've been alive and playing hockey to be in a position like this. So it means a lot.
Minten's emergence has allowed Toronto to move Willie Nylander back to the wing, where he skated beside John Tavares for 4 straight days. So after all the talk about moving to center ice, Nylander ended up playing just 2 preseason games at center.
I played center before in my life, so it's it's there. I think that if it comes along the way during the season where Sheldon wants me to play center, then there's no problem.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he takes more comfort in that if I go to it, because of the progression of Minten and sort of keeping an eye on this situation and how it's played out. We shifted away from William on it, so it wasn't as much of an opportunity or as many reps as we had anticipated. Yet I still think it's more than he's had in the past in terms of a consistent run. So if we feel the need to go to that, I think it's an easier transition for William to do so.
All right, Craig and Mike are back in front of the fireside to chat about the Eastern Canadian teams, and we will start with the Maple Leafs. And they add, love the Brad Treliving line. We're going to be talking about it forever. Adding the snot in the off season. You got Ty Bertuzzi, you got Max Domi, you got Ryan Reeves. You signed Samsonov. He's locked in as your goaltender. The question Leaf fans want to know from you guys, Craig, I'll start with you. Is this team better than last year, and are they a Stanley Cup favorite?
They're going to be a very good regular season team, and you can use those adjectives, snot. Brian Burke, don't forget what he said when he came in here, right? Testosterone and pugnacity and all that stuff. Bottom line is that this doesn't matter. The regular season matters. I'm not trying to dismiss it. This is all. Brad Treliving's here to change the outcomes come playoff.
Yeah.
We look at where the Leafs are, what they've done in the offseason. We talk about Bertuzzi and Domi and Reeves coming in, Klingberg coming in, and you can look at the team and go, they're going to be very good during the regular season. The question is, and the question will not be answered until we get the playoff time, are they good enough to win in the playoffs? And I look at the blue line, and I'm not convinced. And I've heard for too many years that next year was going to be the year. And, when you're this many years into it, I'm still a skeptic.
What are you not convinced about?
The blue line. I don't think the blue line's big enough, long enough, hard enough. And when you get to the playoffs, you're playing good teams.
They'd like it to be bigger, longer, and harder, I guess. They like harder to play against. I get that. I guess I would just say it's hard to be a perfect team. Yep. And certainly Vegas was an example of they have some guys in their blue line that are bigger and on value contracts. The Leafs don't have that. The Leafs are really good. Yep. And they're going to be really good in the regular season again. Do I think it's possible they can win a Stanley Cup with this defense like this? Yeah, absolutely. I remember when Pittsburgh won when Chris Letang got hurt, and Trevor Daley and Ron Hainsey were their 2 best defensemen.
Yep.
And it was the strength of the team defensively that allowed them to win that year, plus the superstars up front. That would be the recipe. You'd like always to be better, but I think they are a top 8 team in the NHL. If they can get a break, if they get a hot goaltender, if they get in the playoffs through 2 rounds, then yeah, they can win. Would they be a favorite? They'd be in probably the second tier of Stanley Cup favorites. It's a pretty good group to be in.
And Brad Treliving has time now to evaluate his team and try to make those moves that can push you into that upper tier. I agree with Mike 100%. Can they win? Yeah, they could win with these deals. And I am talking about ideal, but we can talk about Vegas. Tampa Bay had the same blue line, and the St. Louis Blues had the same type of blue line, and the Washington Capitals had the same type of big blue line.
Yep.
Those types of blue lines win in the playoffs.
No doubt.
Did Florida have that big kind of blue line?
Well, they didn't win.
But they got to the final. So
okay,
you only care.
I call what the Florida Panthers did last year the Magical Mystery Tour. Just like the Montreal Canadiens a couple years ago. That's all.
Because a lot of people criticize, well, they lost to Florida. I'm like, yeah, but Florida didn't have a decor that you'd say, well, there's a decor you can win a Stanley Cup with. No, they didn't win in. That's fair. But they got to the final. They got close to winning. Toronto fans would probably take getting to the final and not winning at this point.
You're right.
But they were also riding a super hot goaltender.
You can go deep.
Yeah.
And once you get to the finals, listen, Vegas was miles better than Florida in that final at that point. but you can do some things with a less than perfect team. And Toronto is very good to great in the areas that they are good in.
I guess that's why the Klingberg signing was a bit mysterious to me, only because is that really what the Leafs needed now when you have Morgan Riley on this roster who presumably could run a power play? Just asking the question.
Well, that's your job. Just ask the question. You let me answer it. Because the answer is the Leafs do, in fact, need more offense from their defense.
Okay.
Not on the power play. Their power play is good with Morgan Riley, with John Klingberg. Their power play will be in the top 5 or 6 of the league. But at 5-on-5, they don't get a lot of production from their defense. Despite all the goals their team scores, they don't get a lot of. And so John Klingberg, amongst all the new players, maybe Bertuzzi, he might be more impactful if he's good. Because the difference between him being good and him being not good is huge.
We saw it last year.
Because he was terrible in Anaheim.
We saw
But
it.
he was very good in Dallas.
Yes.
If you get something like Dallas Klingberg, then the Leafs defense looks so much better. If you get Anaheim Klingberg, that's not good.
Not
Okay,
great.
but like Anaheim was terrible. So when he went to Minnesota, he played well. Get into a better team and everything. See, I look at the Klingberg acquisition as something that clears out another defenseman, such as T.J. Brody.
Yeah.
Changes the complexity of the blue line. It gives Brad Treliving a chance to look at the blue line. He has Klingberg, and now he can maneuver.
Yep.
Those defensemen are out there. Michael Kempny got traded to the Washington Capitals.
Sure.
And I know where he fit. But those types of players are going to become available. Keith Middleton became available to Minnesota. There's going to be opportunity for Brad Treliving. And to me, he's got a strike there. That's what will make the team better and stronger. And I think improve their chances to get deeper in the playoffs and ultimately compete for a cup.
We got to move on to Ottawa Senators. The big move has to be Korpisalo. I love that move. I love how Korpisalo played for the Kings in the postseason. Your thoughts on the Sens? Obviously, the Josh Norris situation is hanging over them right now.
I think Korpisalo dovetails with Jacob Chychrun, which dovetails with Claude Giroux, which dovetails with the maturity of the team with Stützle and Kachuk and all Batherson. Shabbat's going to be better. We've seen the emergence of Jake Sanderson. It's a team that had talent but needed to mature to be ready to take advantage of their talent. Forsberg's going to be better with Korpisalo. Korpisalo's going to be better with Forsberg. I think the key, and we talked about this last year at the trade deadline, Mike, their offseason began last year at the trade deadline. They got Chychrun, and now this team has to start out well.
Yeah.
And I know Norris is out. Pinto has to get signed. That, to me, is the point of emphasis for this franchise. They had some good runs deeper in the season. They fell behind at the beginning, and it was too much to overcome.
Did well in garbage time when it didn't really matter because they were already out of it. A couple of things stand out to me. One, we can't gloss over the fact that they were supposed to go Stützle, Norris, Pinto.
Yeah.
They got Stützle, Greg, Rourke Chartier.
Yeah.
As that's not the same.
No.
And Tarasenko is a guy who needs service, and Kubalik's a guy who needs service. They can't just drive their lines themselves now. And so it's very, very different. Now, there's nothing to do about Norris. That's a really unfortunate situation. His shoulder's not right.
Yeah.
We hope it is soon. We're not quite sure. The Pinto one is perplexing because given Norris's health history, why leave yourself? He only wants $2 million a year.
This is the thing. He's not asking for 10.
No.
And you've got players, I'm looking at the Matthew Josephs of the world, that you could
well, you
presumably unload and create that cap room. Why haven't they done it yet?
I think Matthew Joseph needs a sweetener attached to it, and he's pretty sweet right now. That people are asking for a first round or a first line prospect.
Nobody wants to give anything
No one wants
away.
to give any of that. But beyond all that, which even if all those guys were in there healthy, Craig, what I'd say is this. It's great to say they've matured, and they have, and they're better, and all their young guys have got paid and they're ready to go. I've yet to see this team play consistently how they will need to play to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying they haven't. And so the kind of defense, team-wide, not defense core, not goaltending, but team defense is something that they have to commit to day one or else they won't make it. And that's the challenge.
And that's the challenge for DJ Smith.
Yeah.
Because if DJ Smith can't do it, there will be a new coach in Ottawa.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about the Habs. Minor changes. You bring in Newhook. It's obviously a process. You're working toward the future. You signed Caulfield. What's a realistic expectation for this team going into the year?
26, 27, I think they could move up the standings. I think
You know what it is, Craig? You're exactly right. I mean, there's a reason why the odds are so long.
Yeah.
But what I think matters to them is that they've seen players have incremental, little steps forward, but little steps. What would be a good season? 1, 2, 3 players? Leaps.
Yeah.
Let's see Newhook or Slavkovsky or Jordan Harris
Caden Gooley, yes.
or Montembeault to back up, like one of those guys to take a leap.
Yeah.
Don't go from 20 points to 28 and be a bit better. Give me 20 to 70. Give me like a monster step forward. That's what they need from a few of their different players to set them up in a bit better position.
I would put Kirby Doc in that category.
Doc, yeah, that's another one.
Because
absolutely.
he's got capability, but that's where you gotta.
We
that's
saw
where
it
you
at times
That's
last
where
year.
you got to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. At times doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
Not in this league, because this isn't all the time
More
league.
often.
Yeah, we need to see it more often. But the tools are there, and boy, he's a big kid. Listen, we got to take another break. These guys are going to be right back after the break. I mentioned Rasmus Dahlin signs that massive contract extension with the Sabres. I'm going to ask these guys about that, and then I'm going to ask them about the Western Canadian teams after the break.